Mr. Paradise, Picking Paradise. This is episode 10 of the Lock Picking Belt Ride Along series, and we're working on this challenge lock. And I kind of did an introductory last time with some tools that I thought we needed, some rod. So today what I want to do is just kind of go through what the requirements are for a challenge lock, and kind of give you guys some pointers on pitfalls and things that I've discovered along the way. So that way you guys can hopefully avoid them and we can get some more challenge locks made and some more blue belt level pickers out there. So challenge lock, basically you go to the Reddit thing, you can read this thing and you can see what is required. But basically a minimum of 6 modifications made by the lock builder. Okay, so me or yourself, whoever it is. So if you're making the lock, then you're the builder. So number of modifications must total exceed 6. Total or exceed 6. Okay, so you got to turn or sculpt, shape key pins, turned, sculpted, or shaped driver pins, modification to the chambers by threading or counter milling, improvised secondary locking mechanism, distinguishing mark engraved into the lock. So out of those, I think the easiest are counter milling or threading and shaping the driver or key pins. And Lock Pickers United did a great video a couple weeks back about something I never even thought of. It was genius, great. They took a device like that one over there in the corner, old rusty red thing, and they clamped down a pin and they took a steak knife and they removed the material and they made a custom pin. So that's one. So down here it says each turn sculpted, shaped, or key pin or modification, that counts as one. So if we just do 6 of those, then boom, we're done. We've made a challenge lock. Sounds easy, but you know. Now the key thing there is removing no less than 15%. So you can't just put a little bitty serration in there and call it done, which I was thinking might be the case, and that would be really quick and easy to make a challenge lock. But I think the point of this is to have fun with it and try to stump other pickers and get creative and make some really nice, beautiful key pins. So we got to remove a little bit more material than just putting a serration. Pin and pin, that just still counts as one. Chamber threading or counter milling. They're actually 2. So if you thread the chamber, that is 1. It doesn't matter if you do all 5, 6, or 7 chambers. That just counts as one modification. Same thing with counter milling, and you guys can Google that and see what the difference is. I know I did, and I'm not going to try to explain it. Let's see. The improvised secondary locking mechanism, latches or check pins, etc. So get creative there if you can include those or do that. I think it's kind of, for the first one, maybe save that for a little bit more down the road ones. Distinguishing mark, another easy one. So if you just want to engrave your name or a symbol into the lock, that counts as 1, and it has nothing to do with picking or anything else. So there you go. You could do that, and then you could do 5 pins, and you've made yourself a challenge lock. And then you just got to send it to someone and have them, have proof that you've shared it. So just have them do a video of them picking it or something, or at least message the mods that they've received it. So let's see here. Where are we going from here? So what we're going to end up doing now is I'm going to show you guys some of the pitfalls that I've had, and we're going to do one. I'm not going to sit here and let you watch me make a whole entire challenge lock, because that would be boring. And so what I want to focus on is get yourself a lock, whether it's a mortise or a key and knob. This one is a key and knob, and it's a Schlag course. This one I had laying around. I might use it as a challenge lock, but probably not. I got some ideas. So Den's Brass, if you've been watching his videos, he actually pins his lock up or uses the factory pinning. I don't think he used the factory pinning, but I think the easiest way is to get a lock that has a decent bitting, whether you call that decent bitting or not. If you just have that, and then you remove those pins and you use those actual pins and modify those pins, it's going to save you a lot of time and learning, because I've been making pins out of 3mm brass rod, and there's some challenges there, and I'll kind of go over those if you do want to get into that and do that. But right now, this one fits in there. It fits nice, and if we were to insert it, it's still going to rotate freely. Now let's show you one of these key pins that I turned. All right, this isn't a key pin, that's a driver pin. So I've turned that, and we're going to actually insert that into, we're going to insert it into chamber 2, because that's the one I'm working with right now. Hopefully you guys can see. Okay, so she's in number 2. So once you do get them in there, and let's lock that up. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you. If you see here, whatever that is, that's kind of catching up a little bit. Now it turns this way good, but it doesn't like to turn backwards. So I don't really like that. I want to make sure that my locks function both ways. And it does if you kind of force it back through there. So what I'm suspecting that is, and we'll just go ahead and pull it out, and we'll just let that thing go crazy. No reason to hold it in there. Take a look at this guy. Use my phone case maybe. My hands are all beat up right now. Okay, you guys can see that. You can see how I've left these tiny little ledges on the bottom of that pin. So I think what's happening is just kind of catching. So what I want to do is go ahead and get something in the vise. I'll put that back in the vise, and I'll smooth that down to hopefully avoid that catching. Before we go there, because you guys know my style, I'll ad lib here. I wanted to show you guys some other things that I have in mind here, and some problems that I'm encountering. So if we look there, we can see, and if you guys have gutted locks, you kind of have probably played around with this already. Those two are too tall. So that's the problem that I've been encountering with using my own rod, and how to take care of the little burr at the end. Let's see if we can get this thing in camera. Yeah, okay, so there we go. So you see when I cut the links, it's uneven and weird. I'll show you guys how to address that by using one of these, and we'll actually just turn one of these. We'll turn that key pin that's in there, and we'll shorten one up. So anyway, you want to mark those. One other little note, I do all this by sight and feel, and I don't mind spending time on it. But if we come through here and just mark where that is with a little marker or a little crayon, well, now we have a reference point on that key pin where we know we got to kind of get rid of that line, and then we should be okay. An example, hopefully we can get one that's too low. Yep, there you go, one's way too low. So, and there was one that I put in somewhere that was almost there, but just a little too low. So we got to dial that in. That's why it's a lot easier just to use the factory pinning or pins that you've grabbed, and you're going to file the key and do that. But just have fun with it, and whatever you want to do, go ahead and go down that road. There's a lot of learning. I've been having a lot of fun time doing this. I've been a little out of order because, if you see my hands there, this one's swollen up. I got bit by a dog, and I bust me up pretty bad. And don't break up dog fights, you get bit. So anyway, I've been not picking as much, and haven't been doing videos or doing challenge locks as much either. So I've been a lot of rambling on here. Let's see if we can't go ahead and show you guys the setup that I have here for doing my challenge locks, or my turning of my pins. So some of the pointers here and some of the things that we use. Last time I mentioned a few things like this X-Acto knife. I use it for making serrations, but that steak knife's probably a lot better. This makes some really fine serrations though. If you can do it right, it's kind of challenging. One of the tools that I like the most, and it removes a lot of material, is just a hacksaw blade or a sawzall blade. And you can see how you have the different amount of teeth on them. I like the one with the less teeth down here. This one removes material, but this one I can really kind of pinpoint where I want to grab and take away the material. And then I have a really nice fine hacksaw or coping saw blade. And again, maybe serrations, fine tuning stuff. And then these needle files have been great. Those are actually what I use to kind of take material down and shape some things. Then I also like to have an emery board, and I use the emery board a lot. So the other key thing here is if you're going to be using the Dremel, you can see the edge of my Dremel here. I've got a chuck, but I don't really like the speed chuck. So I've taken this, I modified this outer ring to where it gets down to this collet, this collet, so that way I can actually get all the way to the base, and then the pin is very, not really holding. It's not much. There's not much there holding the pin, because once you kind of get rid of material, you're gonna want that. So safety, don't forget about it, man. Wear these things. The shavings aren't, sharp, but you should be wearing the glasses, and some things are gonna bite you. So a lot of times in between taking the pin in and out, a lot of times taking a pin in and out, you got to push this button to lock the Dremel in place to where you can remove the pin, or loosen the collet. So a lot of times what I'll find myself doing is actually I'll hit by accident. I will actually hit this button instead of this button, and sometimes nick myself. So be careful, don't do that. Pay attention to what you're doing, take it nice and slow, and let's just see what we can do. So making my own, let's get into that. Making my own pin. So this is a pin that I made. Okay, kind of simple, 2 serrations, slightly tapered. So I made this, but if I were to go and try to drop it into the chamber, see, it doesn't go all the way. And the 3mm brass rod fits, but what happens is where that serration is, I've kind of flared the material. So I need to put that back in, and I need to sand her down just a touch. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. And I do like the X-Acto knife for kind of pulling the pin in and out, because you're working with really small stuff, and sometimes our hands are nice, and clumsy, and big. So, okay, oh, that's the other one. Sometimes when you're tightening that down, let's say you use the wrench to tighten this, tighten that down, and you let go, sometimes this button doesn't unclick. So what I'll do is I'll give that a nice spin to make sure that's free first, just to, I guess, save the tool. And then if I wanted to take off the burr or shorten the pin, I would do it like this. And then I could also use this file to do so. Oh, you know what, let me... So yeah, so I use braces and I hold everything, so I could shorten the pin just by doing this. And then that's going to be too slow, so I'll crank up the speed, really shorten that guy up. Okay, now what you see, I'm moving this back and forth on that because if you were to just leave it in one place, it kind of gums up the file a little bit and nothing much happens. The material doesn't go away. So now I just want to go ahead and sand those edges a little bit, and I want to sand the profile just a touch. There you go. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there was definitely some material that just kind of came right off. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and touch it with some sandpaper here. I like to move the sandpaper like that, so same reason it doesn't get cluttered up. This is just a finer sandpaper. Okay, let's see if that'll fit in the chamber now. So wait until that thing stops spinning. On too tight, undo it. Okay. Keep moving the camera, sorry about that, guys. Boom, she fits in there now. Okay, and it was just that little bit of burr that was catching it. So there we go, we have that pin made, and let's go ahead and take out this other one here, and we're going to go ahead and shape that guy. Okay, so that was the one that was in chamber number 2. Oh, before we go to chamber number 2, let's get that. Remember this one just a little bit ago? We're gonna kind of shave that down a little bit. I think you guys get the concept. The video is getting long, so I might not even turn one on camera. I think you guys get the concept, and that's all we're really trying to do here. Because it's really up to you guys to do this, and then just go through the learning experience. Everyone learns differently. So I'm going to use the emery board for this, and I'm just going to try to file the edge just a touch so it doesn't catch. But this is something that I want to be careful about because I want those ledges on there. Okay, so that's not removing enough. So I'm going to go over to my file. I hope you guys can see something. I'm not even looking through the camera. I'm not even looking up there at all. Okay. Oh yeah, I've made that a lot smoother, and there's still a little ledge in there, so that's good. And again, this is just preference, you know. Like I said, oh gosh, my hand really hurts. It's just preference. So you can see how the bottom's a little bit more polished looking. Is not as yep, the video's long already. It is really kind of difficult to move things around. Okay, so there's that pin. I want it to go in like that. We're going to go pin number 2. Insert it. Okay. This was 2 here. See if that's the right one. Another key pointer is once you make your key pins or use your key pins, if you don't modify the bottoms, the very tips of them that touch this, then everything should be fine. But you want to make sure that the key goes in and out, in and out. Really quick, before we test that guy out, we'll note that if I just take this tap and you can use a bolt or whatever it is, you can tap one of these, and that's going to count as a it's going to count as a modification. So now I only have to do 5 pins. Okay, so that's done. And then the other key note to that is once you do that, deburr that thing. So get a little bit of sandpaper and kind of get in there and deburr it, because if you don't, I don't have one, but if you don't, then it's going to stick and it's not going to be good. So let's go ahead and see if we can't insert this guy. She's locked up. 1 pin. Woohoo. Deadly. Key insert's good. Turns a little bit better in both directions now. So I like that. It's not getting hung up. So that's going to be it for today. Just go through that and make the challenge lock. Get creative, learn. You don't got to get fancy. You don't have to have the Dremel and the little magnifying glass and all that. You can hand turn them. But I do appreciate everybody watching the videos, and I hope that I've helped people avoid some things. And I hope I've helped teach a lot. I know that the first video got a ton of views, and I appreciate it. After this one, we're going to do a follow-up video. And as I said before, every lock that was featured in this series, I'm just going to go ahead and give away. I've just got to figure out a raffling system or a submission thing or something. But again, I appreciate everyone spreading the word and saying, hey, watch these videos. Not that I care too much about the subscriptions, the subscribing on the channel, but it's more than doubled, and it's really awesome to know that people are out there watching it. And I love it when you guys comment and give me feedback, and it allows me to think of what the next content's going to be. And that's it. Make some challenge locks. Get some blue belts. I've got to go ahead and make one and send it over to Den Brass and submit for my blue belt, and then I'll be getting my purple belt shortly thereafter. I've picked plenty of Medicos and Chicago Dews, and I'm working on some brown belt level locks right now. But anyway, thanks guys. Keep picking. Aloha.